Good morning, friends on YouTube. We'll begin in just a moment. Good morning, friends, fellow pilgrims and neighbors. We're glad to have you along this morning on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020, on this Tuesday for our daily devotion. We've been studying the book of Genesis over the last month or so, and this week we're looking at Genesis chapter 32, which this chapter contains the story of Jacob wrestling with God. And we're going to take a few minutes to reflect on this passage and then close with the prayer. So I'm going to focus on the parts of the passage in Genesis 32 that have to do with this man that appears and then the revelation of who this man is. So Genesis chapter 32, verses 24 through 28, 29. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he struck him on the hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then the man said, "You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with humans and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. Well, holy smokes, who is this man? And the answer that both Jacob and the man give is that the man is God, that the man Jacob wrestled with was God. It's very clear in both verses 28 and 30. The word used is Elohim, which is a word, one of the names given for God in the Old Testament. The man says that Jacob has striven with God, and Jacob takes this to mean that the attacker was God, and Jacob claims, "I have seen God face to face." We've seen in other Old Testament texts in which God is connected to man or a man. Remember in chapter 18, when the text says that three men spoke to Abraham, and at least one of them is identified as God. Other passages explicitly link God with the divine messenger who comes in the form of man. We've Genesis chapter 16 and also in Hosea. There are, of course, many interpretations to this strange passage. And a lot of these interpretations want to emphasize that this is some sort of inner spiritual struggle between God and Jacob. And of course, it is that. It is an inner spiritual struggle. But the story, I think, is also emphasizing that such a struggle involves the whole person. A person is not just a spirit, a person has a life with physical and emotional needs as well as spiritual needs. This struggle between Jacob and God then is a struggle of the whole person, not just one part of the person, not just the spiritual part. And the blow delivered to Jacob's hip, resulting in the limp that Jacob will carry around with him for the rest of his life, is meant to emphasize this connection with the whole person. The struggle is also with a person, God in human form. And if you'll join us in the Bible study tonight, we're going to talk more about this idea of God in human form in the Old Testament. God does not come, in this case, in a dream or a vision. I think that the thing for us to take away this morning is that Jacob is struggling with his life, and that this is a very central part of what it means to be faithful, to live faithfully, is to struggle with one's own life. And that in struggling with one's own life, one necessarily struggles with God. And I think I'll leave it there, that life is very often a struggle, and that struggle is with God. Let's close with a word of prayer. O thou who art all, without thee we are nothing. To live apart from thee is impossible. To hate thee is to court death. To love thee is to love everything. What shall we do then but love thee, and all things shall then be ours? Thy law is inevitable, and thy love is inescapable. Whither shall we flee from thy spirit, or whither shall we go from thy presence? If we ascend to the heavens, thou art there. If we descend to hell, thou art there. We have come to thee because we cannot fly from thee. We yield to thee because we can do no other. But not only because we must, but because we may, we come to thee. It is thy love that compels, and it is our very selves that answer to thy call. The revelation of thyself ends all rebellion. In the showing of thy heart, thou hast broken ours. From one who has loved us to the uttermost, we cannot keep our own poor love. To the one who begat us and bore with us and desires to be united with us, we cannot refuse our service. So, as an arrow to its mark, as dew drawn heavenward by the sun, as a child to its mother's breast, we come. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me this morning for our devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. Have a great day. Goodbye.